I'm here at Alexander Park on Bathurst Street. There's a skate park over here, and Alexander Park is also home to many people experiencing homelessness right now who live in tents spread throughout this area. But we're here mainly because this is the Qinghuaq Temple behind me. This is one of the many thriving religious centers for the Chinese community in the Toronto area. It was founded in 1985. That temple was originally located on Dundas Street, and it moved here in 1994. But despite Canada's celebrated multiculturalism, the path to religious freedom has not been easy for Chinese immigrants and Chinese Canadians. Chinese communities have suffered various types of discrimination in Canada. Discriminatory immigration laws, economic exploitation, restrictions on their daily lives and practices, and even the denial of their own religious traditions. In this class, we'll learn a bit about how Christian missionaries in particular have played a role in defining Chinese religious traditions. Japanese communities in Toronto face similar struggles. This is the former site of the Toronto Buddhist Church. This is one of Toronto's earliest Buddhist centers. It was founded in 1946. During World War II, some of you might know, the Japanese were considered enemy aliens and subjected to physical imprisonment by the government. The use of the term church was an effort by Japanese Buddhists to make themselves as acceptable as possible in a Christian community. In this course on the history of Buddhist meditation and race in North America, we'll examine how Buddhist meditation practices, including mindfulness, have been shaped by and even contributed to forces like colonialism, imperialism, capitalism, and white supremacy in the last 100 years or so in North America. We'll set the foundations for the semester with what I'm calling Unit 0, which is a 12-hour mini course on some of the basics of anti-racism and intersectionality. If you're already familiar with critical race theory, this will be a lot of review for you, but I want to make sure that we cover all the bases or some of the bases before we start into the semester. In this unit, you'll get an overview on how to critically discuss whiteness and concepts of white privilege, how to distinguish between being not racist and being anti-racist, and how to define systemic and institutional racism, for example. We'll start the semester with a book called Love and Rage, The Path of Liberation Through Anger by LAMA OWENS. LAMA Rod is a Buddhist practitioner and teacher who identifies as black, queer, and fat, and he writes in an intimate and honest way about how he's worked with his own anger and pain using a range of Buddhist philosophical ideas and meditation practices. He explains those practices in detail in this book. If you've studied Buddhism before in other courses, you'll be interested to see how he transforms Buddhist practices like mindfulness for his students. Our last book of the semester will be Ruth King's Mindful of Race, Transforming Racism from the Inside Out. This is a really important guide to understanding and addressing racial justice and its effects, with a focus on how mindfulness and meditation can help us see and heal from the suffering of racism. Like LAMA OWENS' book, this is a very engaging and honest reflection of or exploration of the application of mindfulness and other Buddhist practices to anti-racism work. Here I am in front of the Canadian Mindfulness Centre, which is a not-for-profit organization that specializes in teaching mindfulness, meditation, and mindful living. In the weeks between our experiences with the works of the two influential Black Buddhist leaders, Ruth King and LAMA OWENS, that we'll be reading at the beginning and the end of the semester, we'll read sections from a series of books on how Buddhist meditation practices were transformed as they moved into North America, and how forces like colonialism, Orientalism, capitalism, modernity, and white supremacy shaped the development of Buddhism in North America. Some of our readings will trace how mindfulness was channeled into so-called scientific psychology and medicine, which was then marketed largely to affluent white people. We'll learn about how some postmodern and post-colonial forms of North American Buddhism are embracing pluralism and diversity, and how they're unearthing the voices of individuals and communities who've been historically marginalized and oppressed. We'll learn a bit about how the contemporary mindfulness movement has actually diverted our attention away from systemic drivers of racism, sexism, or poverty. And then we'll hear from influential Buddhist leaders of today, like Lama Rod Owens and Ruth King, who are carefully and powerfully reorienting Buddhist practices like mindfulness towards social justice. For many of us, the materials and topics of this course will be really difficult. There's a lot of pain and suffering involved in thinking about and certainly experiencing racism and other forms of oppression as they exist in our lives personally, in society, and throughout history. My hope is that the assignments for this course will help us navigate some of this in a way that's helpful and supportive. To keep you on track with the readings and to stimulate your thoughts while you read, you'll complete a short online written response for each set of readings. So that's one assignment. That's the most straightforward component of your work for this class. The next assignment is a self-care project. Over the semester, you'll be creating a personalized self-care plan where you'll identify what you value and need as part of your day-to-day life, first of all. And second of all, you'll find some strategies you can use when or if you face a crisis along the way. 2020 has been a strange and terrible year for so many of us. And for you to manage your schoolwork effectively and your lives, you have to really dedicate targeted attention to what you need to do to take care of yourself. So the rest of the assignments for this class are all focused around a theme that we're going to call speaking out and listening in. So first, you're going to conduct 4 conversations with 2 different people. In 2 cases, you'll be mainly listening, and in 2 cases, you'll be mainly speaking. This assignment is kind of like a central practice of socially engaged Zen Buddhism called bearing witness. In other contexts, it's also called deep listening. In a session of deep listening, you'll practice actively witnessing your thoughts and emotions while maintaining focused attention on what you're hearing from the other person. Here's a very short example of this practice that I did recently with my son, Sievert.
Okay, well, I guess as you know, I went to the University of Victoria's acting program, and I had a kind of a rough time there. Yeah, being the only disabled person in the program, and not being really accepted, sometimes because of that, and sometimes, for other reasons. But anyway, this one time, I guess as you know, I can't use my right hand, so I need to have people tie my shoes, help me tie my shoes. And one of the people in the program accused me of harassment for asking to tie my shoes, something I physically can't do, and it was very scary and very very sort of traumatizing, because it's not something I can control, and I just need help, and I guess my feeling is like, because that person said that they were uncomfortable with the idea of tying shoes, which I think is fine, but I don't think you then need to accuse someone of harassment for asking. I think that's going too far.
Yeah.
And so it was a very scary thing, and I didn't get a lot of support from people when that happened, because everyone sort of assumed it was a man-woman thing as opposed to a disabled person and a able-bodied person thing.
Right.
And so, I don't think people are used to thinking that way. So,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened.
Yes.
The work of deep listening is about uprooting assumptions or judgment and listening with focus and respect. For a speaker, it's about the experience of being fully heard and understood. As LAMA Rod Owens says in his book Love and Rage, speaking is how I shape my reality and become what I need to be. For this assignment, you'll conduct these 4 conversations and then write short reflective papers about your experiences. We'll have 2 final projects then, both also involving speaking out and listening in. One is a group art project, and for this you'll follow the model of the online project at postsecret.com. You'll create an artwork in which you anonymously share a secret about anything. So you can check out examples of this on postsecret.com, the website. We'll create something like this, putting together all of your pieces of art, your secrets that you've shared, and we'll put them together on a mural somewhere on campus that we can all go to see. The other final project is an audio piece, something like a podcast, that you'll create in which you'll discuss one of the issues or topics from the class for a public audience. So we'll go into more detail about all of this as the course gets started. And in the meantime, I'm excited to be teaching this course, and I look forward to getting to know all of you over the semester.